The focus of tonight's session is overcoming problems caused by the current coronavirus pandemic. A couple of housekeeping matters to address. I'm going to mute everyone to avoid background noise. You can unmute yourself on an as-needed basis. I've got the chat line open. Please open it up, hit the chat button on your screen. And when you send out a chat, hit everyone in the blue oval so that we can all see. We are particularly interested tonight as the first summit meeting in getting questions, concerns, and comments, not only about the coronavirus or COVID virus, but anything that might be challenging your roundtables. It would be helpful if you entered the name of your roundtable or the affiliation of your roundtable when you do enter the chat. There are a lot of different issues and obvious, in some cases, roundtable threatening issues caused by the coronavirus. Tonight, I'm joined by another member of the board of the Congress, Rich Jankowski, who's the president of Old Baldy Roundtable in the Philadelphia area or the southern New Jersey area. He's been president of Old Baldy for 12 years. He helped reinvigorate it. He's also a member of the Delaware Valley Civil War Roundtable and the GAR Museum. During the day, he masquerades as a business process analyst with a defense logistic agency, which position he's held for 37 years. Rich, thank you for agreeing to be our lead speaker tonight. Is there anything I left out in your introduction that we should know?
No, it can come out later. No, that's fine. Let's go.
So why don't you start out by kind of level setting us, tell us where Old Baldy was in the beginning of this year before coronavirus began to impact its activities.
Just a brief thing on the roundtable. It's called the Old Baldy Civil Roundtable Philadelphia. We used to meet at the museums founded by the Mollusk. And then when that closed, we went annually for a couple of years, but we weren't growing. So in 2013, we moved to New Jersey. We meet at Camden County College. We've been growing since then, doing a number of different things. And last year, actually year before, our program guy, he started getting remote presentations. We started with Skype, and that wasn't matching up with the charts and the speaker. So last summer, he switched over to Zoom, and we had Sarah from California, and then in December we had Krista from Nashville. So when this thing hit in March, we were kind of fortunate to be aware and online, ready to go. So what we did is we upgraded our Zoom to Zoom Pro, which allows up to 100 at a time. And we starting in April, we switched our meetings to Zoom. And then since we were paying the monthly fee, what he did is he scheduled additional programming in between the meetings because, we knew that people were stuck at home. But on the opposite side, it was more that all the presenters who had their schedules full for April, May, March, April, and May, now had a lot of time on their hands. So we were able to add a second session on a variety of topics. And then since then, we've been inviting folks to come. Since we moved since 2014, our average attendance at the meeting was around averaging out to 31. The first session in April, we got close to 30. We hit 40, so we're touching 40. We're hoping to get 50 at our presentation next week. So it's a good event that way. So that has helped us out there.
So where were you meeting before COVID closed you down?
We were meeting at the local county college, Camden County College in Blackwood. It was a good relationship. We ended up there because we were looking for a place. We came out of Philadelphia. It was they were having Civil War lectures there and getting 100 people to show up, and people we didn't know. So we built a good relationship with the Center for Civic Leadership and Responsibility, and they do programs and continuing ed for adults and like that. So we've kind of worked together. We've held a symposium there, and in fact, that is the location where the Congress is going to be this year and will be next year. So, but that relates, we're kind of working off each other. That's been good. And like I said, we had people coming, actually even from out of state. So we've got a good turnout, usually at the meetings.
So you
something I did. Go ahead.
I was just you're meeting at a community college, so you weren't having to deal with restaurant issues or anything along those lines. Right.
No, well, yeah, no issues along that. But what it was is we meet at the diner up the street. Those of us that can make it before the meal, and we usually take the speaker there for dinner. But nothing that shut down along those lines. When the college shut down and moved all their stuff online, so obviously they've been closed all summer, and we're waiting to hear what they're going to do in the fall. So we immediately decided that we switched and fortunately for us, the speakers that we had lined up were willing to go onto Zoom. So starting in, like I said, at the end of March, we switched for the summer, and up till September are going to be Zoom meetings, and that's worked out well. And some members of the Del Val group were on our info meeting, and they saw it, and then they talked to our program guy, and they went back and have done it for their group for the last 2 months. So,
all right. Did you close your meetings because the community college shut you down, or did you decide on your own that your membership would find it too risky?
No, we did it because we didn't have a place to meet, and then because there was a shutdown order from the governor about limited travel and no gatherings and that kind of thing. So it was a combination, but that caused the college to shut down, so that's why we were forced to do that. But on that note, what I was going to say was, thanks to some advice from Dr. John at a previous Congress, something I did in April was I reached out and contacted the members to check on them and see how they were doing. And while I was doing that, I said, we're going to have our meetings on Zoom. And more than half of them were already familiar with it because of either another organization they were in, or they were doing it for their job, or they're talking to their grandchildren. So an original concern, maybe the people won't be ready for it, but a good part of the membership were ready for it, and they've been satisfied so far.
How did you get the other part of the membership to become familiar with Zoom?
Well, we haven't gotten them all yet, but basically reaching out to some of the people who weren't on there to see if there was a concern that we could deal with, and a couple of them we were able to help. Other ones said it was technical issues where they had an old computer. Some just forgot, they got the link and they just forgot to tune in. Other ones were just busy. And then, when this conference group put these lectures out, they were, sometimes they were scheduled the same night, and somebody told me that, he was on a Civil War Congress lecture and he couldn't come to the meeting. So, but there's a lot of stuff out there for people to do.
Well, what is the age profile of the 70 members of Old Baldy?
Well, mostly retired, but one of the reasons we moved out of the city was because, when we were there, our average age was in the 70s, because I always tell the story that one of our last presentation was about the Battle of the Bulge and a prisoner of war camp in Germany given by a man who was there. So, he was close to 80 at the time. But now we've gotten some, to us, somebody in their 40s or 50s is young. So But I'd say the average age is maybe in the low 60s.
Right.
So yes.
So do you have a concern that some of your members simply can't master the Zoom technology or have the equipment?
No, actually what we found is some of them who weren't able to come because they're a little further away and they didn't want to drive at night have now been able to plug into Zoom, and they've told us that they like this so they can participate, and allows them to be part of what's going on. The other factor that has been somewhat successful is the log on earlier. Normally they'll talk before the meeting to see their friends, and there's a little social gathering, before the meeting starts, so people can kind of, they're not in the same room, but they can still interact with the people they haven't seen for a couple of months or it's just the last month. So that's been a plus, and the fact that more distant members, like our newsletter editor, lives in Florida. He obviously can't come to the meetings, but he was able to plug into some of the meetings, and we'll see him, and so that's worked out well.
So you say your typical meeting, in-person meeting, was about 30, and you had that at your first Zoom meeting, but since you've increased to about 40?
Yeah, we're getting close. Like the June meeting, we had 39. So and we're going to keep inviting people, and hopefully they'll now. Good. You got another question or?
Well, the next question was going to be, I believe you conducted a survey of your members
That's
to
right.
see.
That's what I was. Yes. So in dealing with this, the board was talking. In fact, to test it out, we had a board meeting over Zoom in March, and at that meeting, we said, well, we could guess what the membership wants, or since they're all home, we can ask them. So we put together a short questionnaire. We emailed it to them and said, someone will contact you to get your responses. So what we did is we divided it up. We assigned each board member 9 names to contact, and gave them a couple weeks to do that. And over the course of like 3.5 weeks, we, through either email responses or talking to them on the phone, we got a good return back. One of the reasons, the first question obviously was, how are you and your family doing? And then the 2 topics we covered were, are you aware of our Zoom presentations? If you are, what can we do to improve it? If you're not, how can we get you on? And then we addressed their concerns about the COVID, with what do they see their involvement in the fall? When do they think we should come back? What precautions, kind of like that. And then the last question was kind of open. Tell us about your old Baldy experience. I was very pleased that when we finished up, we got responses back from 75% of the membership. So that gives us a really good perspective of what the members want going forward and what they think about what we're doing.
So a couple of questions from the chat line involve, are you paying honoraria to your speakers or compensating them in some way?
That's how we got our, about, I guess maybe 2017 or so. What we do in addition to, if we have a member speak, that's not, they don't get paid, but we do pay, they do pay an honorarium, and we give them some items. And one of the things we started about 1.5 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, is when someone does a presentation, we give them a 1-year honorary membership to the roundtable. So at any time, there could be 13 or 14 extra members. That gets us up, over 70. And now we're adding some more. I don't know if that answers the question or not, but yes. So we give them we usually, if they're there in person, we usually take them to dinner beforehand. We give them a certificate, a check, an old Baldy glass, pen, and a year's membership into the roundtable.
But what about your Zoom speakers? Are you compensating them in some way?
Yes. 2 of our first speakers declined. So what we did is we made a donation in their name, one to the Gettysburg Foundation. And then one of our speakers was a guy named Drew Goober, who talked about the Battle of Williamsburg. And during his presentation, he mentioned that the Battlefield Trust is, trying to buy a piece of land there. So we made, sent some money to the Battlefield Trust in his name, for what he did for us. So, and in fact, I just mailed them their items this week.
So Shelley from Scottsdale has asked, do people have to register for each meeting? I'm not sure if she's talking about pre-COVID or your Zoom meetings now.
For the Zoom meetings, probably. Right? Yes, she's shaking her head. Right now, it's on an invitation basis. What we're doing is we're sending out the link to the membership and our invited guests. I'm get to send it out to more, and because in fact, I'm looking forward. Like last month, Bill J joined us from North Carolina. The same month that Don was off from Florida. So at that one, we had people from 6 different states. I know Bill from Minneapolis is looking forward to joining us next Monday. I saw an email from him. But yes, because he was concerned about hitting the 100 limit. But just like we've learned with the lectures, you're not always to get everybody to show up for one reason or another. So I'm into inviting more people along those lines. But what we did, just as a side, one of the ways we've grown is we've connected with local historical societies. And there's a group in the county called Camden County History Alliance, which is all like home and other associations. And they put out a monthly e-newsletter about events that are happening. So what we've done there is we sent our meeting's going to be on July 9th or whatever, and we said, if you're interested in joining us, send us an email. We'll send you the link. So that way it's not out there for anybody, because just so we can make sure the members get on. And last month we had 2 people who emailed Dave, and he invited them, and they showed up for the thing. And the other thing I will add about had a guy who retired. He's cleaning out his paperwork. His name was Gary. He found an old newsletter from the 90s. So he went on the web, found that we were still there, reached out to Dave, asked if he could join the Zoom presentations. And he was on in, I think, April and May. And the beginning of June, he sent us an email and said, my Thursday nights are continuing to be open for a while, and I've been on a number of your Zoom programs. I might as well join. So we've added 3 new members in the last 3.5 weeks. And, I never thought we could recruit during the pandemic, but, we're growing the organization and not necessarily losing.
All right.
Hey,
so
thanks, Bill.
That's a very good trend. What about the finances? Have you lost revenue from, say, an end of the year meeting that you normally would have, or do you anticipate problems in getting people to re-up?
That's 2 questions. No, we're not spending as much, other than the Zoom cost and then the honorariums. That was in the budget anyway. The only thing we're really losing on income is the book raffle each month. We haven't figured out how to do that over Zoom. But we've got other money coming in through donations, and we're registered on Amazon Smiles, where you get like 0.5% for any sale. So our check for January, February, and March was $15 and something. So we think the next quarter check's going to be pretty big, because between April, May, and June will be a lot of buying. But our finances are still good. And like I said, actually, we've had people who used to be dues-paying members who didn't because they weren't able to come anymore. And they've actually said, if we do this, continue doing Zoom, they may re-up. So I'm looking that we could grow our membership, going forward.
So all in all, it sounds like Old Baldy is doing a good job of actually taking advantage of the situation.
Yeah, I would take advantage. Yes.
One last narrow, specific question again from Shelley of Scottsdale. For each Zoom meeting, do you have a meeting number and a password?
Apparently, we're going to have to start doing it. I just found this out. What we did it for the first one, there was some challenges for people. So what Dave did is he set it up so you can just click on a link and it goes right in. But he just sent me an email like yesterday or day before that starting next month, Zoom is requiring you to have a password in the meeting. And he'll be sending it out like 2 days before. He sends it out a week in advance, save the date, and also he'll send it out like 2 days in advance. He'll send that link information out.
Okay. So then Jim Madden of Phil Carney was wondering if you've had any disruptions from outsiders. It sounds like the answer to that is no.
No, because only basically it's people we've invited who tune in. But like I said, we've got some long distance members, dues paying members who haven't been able to come for a couple of years. And they were very pleased to be able to participate. And we're trying to pick up, in fact, that's a funny story. Bill from Indianapolis, we had sent him to save the date, and he sent something back and said, make sure you send it to me. And Dave thought he wanted to join. I was like, oh, great. But he just wanted to make sure he got the link. So we are trying to spread it out. And like I said, it's another way if we let let some representatives from other roundtables plug in, it's a way for them to see how it works and how it goes over, and maybe they can take it back to their group. Like I said, Del Val did that, and I know some other groups have also done that kind of thing.
So we're beginning to run a little short of time. There are some broader questions on the chat line from Ed Lowe of Chickamauga and Chattanooga. How do different roundtables plan to meet with COVID and safety measures? What mitigation, I'm sorry, I've just lost it. Measures are recommended to prevent COVID spreads. Are there liability concerns? Who's opening up? How are they opening up? Carol from the Twin Cities is wondering about having an attendance of 100 or more on Zoom, what that would be like. I think Mark from Puget Sound is saying theirs is planning on opening in September. They have a large enough dining room to accommodate the usual meeting attendance and have social distancing. What I'm going to do now is switch to my screen so I can show you a couple of slides. Part of our purpose here tonight is to raise questions, but not to have a full and final discussion. We're hoping to have that on our Facebook group called Team CWRT, which will be a discussion venue for roundtables and their leadership site, and their leadership team, a project development site, problem solving forum. Rich, I believe you're going to be in charge of monitoring and handling Team CWRT on Facebook. Is that right? Hello, Rich. You're muted.
Oops, I wanted to give you. Didn't want to have any background noise. Yes, I will be. What we're looking for is it's a place to direct comments, concern, those kind of things, so we can capture it, and also a way for groups to interact. So if there's a group in one part of the country that might be able to address a concern or along those lines of things. Also, in addition to your challenges and concerns, let us know what successes you're having. That's the thing we're going to pass on to other groups. Like, here's something we tried that really worked well, or along those lines. That kind of thing. And this will evolve, over the coming months, like that. So.
All right. So hopefully everybody on the call today will join Team CWRT. But in addition, we have got a couple of other ways for you to contact us. By email, the Team CWRT email address is summit@cwrtcongress.org. And if you send an email to that, if you could CC Rich and me at the same time, that will make sure that your email is seen in a timely fashion. In addition, because we don't want any barriers of entry, feel free to call either Rich or myself. If you have questions or comments or new topics that you'd like to raise or have presented on Team CWRT, or if you're having any technical issues accessing Team CWRT. So Ed and Mark and others who've asked kind of broader questions about COVID, we will be having a follow-on discussion in 2 weeks about COVID issues. Our speaker then will be Kim Brace of the Bull Run Civil War Roundtable. And in addition, another set of issues that are beginning to arise that we're hearing about with roundtables involve memorials and flags and the like. And Kim Brace and the Bull Run Roundtable have started to have some successful ways to deal with those issues, I believe. Before I wrap up, are there any other questions? Feel free to unmute if there's something you'd like to address in the group at large. Let's see, will you send participant the Team CWT Facebook group slide? Mike, if you can unmute, do you know a way that we can send that slide out to the participants?
I will send it out to everyone on our email list.
Okay.
I just want to throw a question out there if I could, Mike.
Sure.
Mike, I don't know if you've ever had this question before, or maybe any of you have had it, but maybe we could have some kind of a national CWRT PAN membership. Just throwing the thought out there, because as I got into with Rich this week, I was interested in what Old Baldy was up to. I mean, you know, everyone you touch, you get interested in what they're up to. And I was wondering if there's a way we could, you know, some kind of revenue sharing model we could develop. I just throw it out there for future discussion, not to resolve anything tonight, but.
Okay, I've captured that.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. This is Andrew Mezak from James A. Garfield Civil War Roundtable in Northeast Ohio. And just want to throw something out to all of you. Given the climate and the preservation of monuments and other artifacts and historical sites, if any of you are ever interested in working towards advocating members of Congress or your state legislatures and need any assistance with that, please reach out to me. Happy to assist you with those efforts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Well,
I just want to say thank you all for tuning in. Hope to see you all in 2 weeks, and tell your other fellow roundtable leaders to plug in, because this was a good venue to exchange information, and we just want to continue to build on it.
Thank you very much.
It's definitely our hope that this becomes a valuable resource for all roundtables, and we want to be responsive to your needs. So give us any kind of feedback that you've got. Well,
thank you very much. It was very nice.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending. I hope it was helpful, and I hope to see everybody in 2 weeks with Kim Brace.
Same time, 2 weeks from now?
Same time, same place.
Okay. And okay, great. And the numbers will be posted. I'll be able to get back into the meeting. I'll be posted somewhere.
Again, register for it like you did this time, and you'll get that confirmation email.
All right.
And
all right. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
See you in 2 weeks.
All righty.